got glitter in my eye. Price of beauty. Hey, hi, hello, it's Token Kearney. Welcome back to Professionally Unprofessional. If you like what we do here at Redhead Runaway, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on our videos. Those really help us know what you want to see. You can leave questions that you want us to do for further interviews, or you can sign up for our newsletter at redheadrunaway.com/newsletter, or click the link in the description. You'll be able to get updates on all of the videos that we come out with, all the podcasts, all the vlogs, everything Redhead Runaway, and you'll be able to influence what we do on our channel. This is our final episode with Brittney Telecamp from No Bladder Don't Matter, and we want to just, before we even get into anything, offer a huge thank you to Brittney for coming and sharing her story with us, being on our podcast, being on our YouTube. If you haven't checked out the podcast yet, it is in the description, so you can find it really easy. If you missed the first episode with Brittney, we talked about her diagnosis with this cancer, learning what it meant, what she had to change in her life. In the second episode, we talked about her life after diagnosis, getting back to work, getting back to her regular life. And in this episode, we're going to talk about where No Bladder Don't Matter came from and what happened from her finding out she had cancer, living through the cancer, to becoming this spokesperson for other people that are also living with this. So let's jump right on in and figure out what happened with the rest of Brittney's story and finally understand why she chose No Bladder Don't Matter. Go! How are you using this experience to, I don't want to say teach, but let other people in and making a good thing, making a platform out of such a terrible experience?
So my ultimate goal, because I'm not a doctor, I don't want to necessarily be a voice that educates.
Oh, don't worry. We put the warning at the beginning of this one.
Yeah. But I mean, that's one of the things like I've set out to do. Like, I'm not an educator, and it breaks my heart when people ask me questions like about, well, what symptoms led to, like, when people ask me like medical type questions, I'm like, I don't want to be that voice for you. I want to be. Yeah, that's another thing. I'm like, first of all, every experience is different. Mine's weird. Don't go by my experience. Like, please, if you're freaked out about any weird stuff going on with your body, go talk to a doctor. Don't be like me and wait. But my goal is to be a friend, because when I was diagnosed, and you hear about breast cancer, you know, lung cancer, ovarian
prostate cancer.
Like, you think I cannot know a time. I know you can get cancer anywhere, but like, my brain has never heard about bladder cancer. And so, you know, the first thing I did was get on Google. I don't.
A terrible idea.
But, you know, like,
almost as bad as WebMD.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I went to Google, and it's like we were saying earlier, like, people my age don't get diagnosed with this. And when I went looking for support groups on Facebook, you know, everyone was much older and they were in a different place as far as going through their cancer. Like, you know, they were older, they could take early retirement, they had grown kids, they had, you know, you're in a different place in your life when you're 50 and 60 years old versus your mid-20s. Like, these people were just in a different place, and it felt very lonely. Like, I couldn't find anyone else to talk to about this, because it's just like, you know, you do with your best friend, where you want to talk about like this TV show or the boy that made you mad. Like, I wanted to tell someone like, holy cow, like, treatment is making me tired. Like, you want that.
It's not exactly something to have a fun conversation about. I can't tell you how my day is gone for you to turn around and go, I have cancer. That it makes things feel insignificant in comparison, even though they're not.
And you know, and you want those people. Like, one of the things I say is like, my husband, my family, you know, the people who are living this with you, they can't be the dartboard for your emotions constantly. So I wanted friends. I wanted people who were going through it that I could talk to, and we could bitch and moan about it. I wanted friends, and I couldn't find any people my age. And then there was also people who didn't want to talk about this. It was very taboo. Like, bladder cancer is gross. It's gross. Like, they've kind of made breast cancer a little sexy. Save the boobies. Like, who's gonna be like, save the bladder? Like, it's not the same thing. It's not.
It's
not
just not how it works.
it's not the sexy cancer. And as horrible as that says, the sexy cancers, the ones with a little bit more notoriety, they have incredible support groups and all kinds of, resources. And you get bladder cancer, there is 2 organizations, recognized organizations for bladder cancer, one here in the US and is international as well, but it's got a heavy US presence. And then there's an incredible organization that's UK based that only serves the UK, and I'm super jealous. I am part of it, but I'm like, oh, you guys are so cool. Like, they're a little, society wise, they're a little bit more open to ostomies and stuff. So my goal has been to make sure anyone else who gets this diagnosis doesn't feel alone like I did. And that's what made me want to start documenting and do the website, do the Facebook page. And another reason I did the Facebook page is I didn't want to inundate my personal Facebook page with this. Like, all my people, like you.
All of these things are going to be shared in the details and everything, so you guys can go see them on your own, because the content that she's putting out is really, really good content. It's very down to earth, and it almost demonstratizes, I'm saying words wrong, but it makes it not casual, but it makes it casual conversation.
Yeah.
Taking your theme and going from like, I don't have a bladder, what am I going to do, to be like, no bladder don't matter. It's a very offhanded, and it allows it to be much more understood. And just like you said, you don't want to be lonely. You don't want to be by yourself in this. If you take it and make it more relatable, more realistic, more people are comfortable talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I didn't want to inundate like my personal Facebook page with all of this, because my friends, my family still know me as Brittney. Like, I don't want to. This is a little bit different. Like, even when just me and you talk like as friends, like, yeah, we talk about this.
This is real formal for the two of us.
Yeah,
like,
this is not our whole conversation. We talk about so many other things. So like I don't want to live my cancer hat 24/7 on my personal pages. So that's what spawned the Facebook
Not to
page.
mention, that'll just ruin your life. It'll drain you.
Oh yeah. And then it was also an outlet when I started talking, and like you said, being very casual with how I talk about it and a little gritty at times. People started reaching out to me, and I wanted them to have a place to reach out to me in more of a professional way, because it's really hard to like go from sending you memes on, Facebook Messenger to answering this woman who's like, oh my gosh, my hair's falling out. Like, it's 2 different worlds. I like to keep them a little separated. So that's kind of what spawned it, is people started reaching out to me. And I think one of the most humbling things that's come out of this was one of my most recent articles that got published by bladdercancer.net was talking about finding friends, finding your people. Like, that's my whole thing I harp on. Find your people. And I had all these comments coming in like, I'm so glad I found you. You are now that person. You are now that pivotal person. Because I was talking about like, okay, I found this group. I talked to this person. They were helpful for me. And like to hear people say like, I'm that person for them. I was like, oh my word.
See, I can relate to that. That's the whole reason this started. That's the whole reason that the Redhead Runaway thing happened, is because our story, we think, is insignificant to the rest of the world. It's what we're going through and what we're doing. And when other people hear it, they talk about how it is insane, the amount of things we go through. You and I have both discussed our troubles. I was homeless, was in all these stupid issues that we've discussed previously. And you think that what I've done is crazy. But then at the same time, in 1 year, I listen to your story and it's everyday life for you. But I'm always like, so you did what now? And I've been a part of this story since day one, since you checked into that ER, and there's still things about it that I hear and just can't believe you went through.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And that's just, and it's humbling, but it also tells me that what I'm doing makes sense. It
matters. It's so important.
When I started everything, when I started the website and everything, I was like, at the very least, it'll be cathartic for me. I can write, I can scream into the abyss and at least get it off of me. Like, this isn't on me anymore, because I'm one of those people, I grew up loving to write poetry, loving to write, and writing something down helps me process. So this was my catharsis. And I was like, I can take it, crumple it up, throw it out there. And if someone reads it, cool. I don't really care. And then all of a sudden, everyone was reading it. I was like, oh, and I get tagged in our support groups. Like, you know, someone will ask a question, like, oh, go talk to Brittney. Oh, go talk to Brittney. I'm like, oh, I'll be your friend. Like, that's like probably the hardest thing to balance in all this now is like, hey, I'm your friend. I'm not your doctor.
I think the coolest thing about this is earlier in the conversation, you said that you don't wish this on anyone, but in the same vein, you're able to separate yourself from it, throw it into the void and get it off your chest and allow yourself to be normal. And other people can pick it up, they can use it. And now you're not letting anybody go through what you went through in the same pain way, but they're able to learn and take bits and pieces of your journey, apply it to themselves and realize that like, no, my life isn't ending. No, this isn't a death sentence.
Exactly.
Yes, these are things I can do. This is how I can take this miserable life, these 2 to 3 inches that I'm dealing with, and make it the best possible scenario that I have. And it's not me trying to make light of your situation, because all of it is it's a lot. You got your own episode of House going on right now. but you're able to take those terrible things that you've gone through and kind of take a step back and go, this is what I can give people from this experience. And I think that's a huge thing to respect for you, is that you sat there, turned to your husband and bawled saying, I don't want to die, to now be a role model, spokesperson, friend, someone to reach out for all these people that are going through the same thing. And you never asked for any of it. You just kind of became that person and you ran with it. And I think that's cool.
It's been very gratifying. You know, it's crazy to see some things come full circle. Like there's a specific woman that she actually is the reason, and she'll know who she is. She's the reason why I started my website, because I actually spent like a solid 4 hours in Facebook Messenger talking to her, because she was fixing to have the same surgery as me. She lives in Australia. She'll know who she is now. But I sat there talking to her, you know, just, I showed her pictures of my ostomy. I talked about everything. And I told her, I was like, you know, obviously, because she was asking me questions about, like, you know, why did I choose my diversion and why did I go about it the way I did? And I gave her my reason. I was like, you know, it's a very personal choice to make. About whether you get an ostomy, you get whatever. And she was like, you know, she came back like a week later and said, you know, I decided to get an ostomy like you, and like her specifically saying like me. And she's like, you know, you made it not scary. And then she actually just recently reached out to me again, and she's had her surgery and she's come out of it great and she's doing well. And it's just have her like come back and be like, hey, how are you doing? And look at me, I'm doing good. And she's showing me pictures in her tight leggings. She's like, it's just like you said, it's not scary. I'm like, I promise you, it's not scary. I mean, I had another person I haven't talked to since her surgery in October actually reached out today, and she's like, oh my gosh, my hair is falling out like yours fell out. What did you do? Like, how did you get through that? And to be able to, all these weird things that I lived through and figured out on my own, I can now say, hey, here's what I did. Here's how I mentally worked through it. And she's like, okay, it's not so scary. I got this. She's like, you're great. You're awesome. And I'm like, you guys are awesome. Like, I couldn't imagine being at square one with all this stuff again. So it's been very gratifying and humbling and all the other words.
You've become a beacon for these people who are going through what you considered the darkest time in your life. Yes. You are now a sense of light for people going through the same thing. And it's just a really cool full circle, I'm sure, to see that. And I think the biggest takeaway from the conversation is that you started this lonely, and you were scared to be lonely, and you wanted a community, and there wasn't a community for you, so you created one. And I think that's awesome that you went from being, I'm lonely, I want people to talk to about this, to now people are going through it and they're being recommended to you.
Which is weird. It's still weird. Every time it happens, I'm like, people will send me a message and like, oh, so and so in this group said, hey, we need to talk to Brittney. Are you Brittney? Is this the right person? I'm like, oh, okay. Hi, how can I help you?
She's famous and not how she thought she'd end up famous.
You know, and I try really hard to be as, you know, real about all of this as
You've
possible.
literally never struggled being real, though. The entire several years that we're not going to discuss that I have known you, you've always been like, this is what's happening, boom, go. There's never been this blockage of fakeness with you.
And so I try not to show, like, you know, not all my pictures are done up with makeup and pretty, and that's why I show the videos showing ostomy bag changes and talking about the bad things that happen and the good things that happen, because I think a pitfall that happens when it happens it's weird because like the cancer community is its own community, which I'm sure every aspect in the world has its own community, but in the cancer community, like, there's a lot of, I don't know the right word for it, but there's a lot of angst around people who like take cancer and don't, you know, who take that platform they have and like become an influencer and make it pretty and like, oh, look at me with my cancer and I'm kicking its butt and don't you wish I were me? And there's people in our community that do that, and I don't want to take away, like, they have cancer, obviously they're going through it, but I'm like, you know, people benefit more from you being real about your cancer and not just showing the pretty parts about it.
So props to you for taking this thing and being so open and sharing it. That being said, where can people find you?
So the best place to start is my website, nobladderdon'tmatter.com. That has links to all facets of what I do. You'll find links to my front-facing Facebook page, which you can also search under No Bladder Don't Matter. Find me there.
Don't worry, everything will be linked.
Personal page. Don't find my personal page, because if I don't know you, I won't add you. But, you know, come find me there. My Instagram is public, and that's probably the coolest place right now, because that's like the meshing of my front-facing cancer Brittney and my personal life. So you can see fun corgi pictures and my husband and me griping about quarantine, because we're pretty funny right now. I have a baby YouTube channel. There's not a lot of content there right now because I'm actually waiting on some content to get approved from the organization that I write with right now, just because there's some things that I'm using from there and they gotta okay it. And I'm hoping one of these days to finally film your ostomy bag change video, because that's probably like my most requested thing. But I'm really bad, you know, just like you don't think about videotaping yourself brushing your teeth. Like I go to like do it and I'm like halfway done, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't videotape. So I'm not good at YouTube yet, but one day I'll get there. But my website is kind of the connection of everything. I have a really very intimate and very raw photo journal on my website, that if you want to know what going through cancer actually looks like, it's a great, you know, prepare yourself. This is like my trigger warning, and there's a whole warning at the top of the page. Like, it's raw, there's hospital pictures, but I think that's like in this day and age of like taking pictures, and I still can't tell you why we have pictures of some things we have pictures of, but it's like been the greatest. It's weird. It was like a good way to process it, but it's from the beginning. And I actually did find a picture yesterday of me in the hospital bed in the ER the night that I came in. We don't know who took it. I don't know how it's on my phone. It's the weirdest thing.
It's there.
It's there. So there's the photo journal there. There's my blog. I write about...
And your blog is on your website, yes?
It's on my website.
Okay.
And it's everything and anything that comes to mind with living with bladder cancer, living with ostomy. I just did a 3-part series about what to do before your surgery, what to take to the hospital, what to have at home. Like, I try to just talk about everything. Sometimes it's rambles, sometimes there's pictures. It's a little bit of everything there. And there's also a tab for my community advocate page. So like I said at the beginning, I write for bladdercancer.net. That is one of the offshoots of an organization called Health Union. Bladdercancer.net is still kind of a fledgling organization, and instead of places like BCAN, Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network, which is just research based, it's kind of like the American Cancer Society. It's a place for research and resources. Like, it's very clinical. Bladdercancer.net, it does have some resources, but they have curated people in all stages, from the caregiver side to living with it to having survived it, and some medical professionals to just talk about life with bladder cancer. And it's a really unique organization, and all of us writers, I'm currently the youngest, but all of the writers are at a different place in their journey, and it's really cool to be able to read that voice from different people. And it was one of those weird opportunities. Someone who saw me on Instagram recommended me to whoever runs that offshoot of bladdercancer.net, and I got an email that I thought was spam from a lady asking to interview me, and I was like, oh wait, she's real. And she interviewed me for her podcast, and then she's like, so do you want to write for us? So I do that on the side now. So there's a tab for that. And then last week we launched merch, which is exciting.
There's the merch.
There's merch now. And I hired a graphic designer, which is like the weirdest thing ever. But he was amazing. He made me my own logo that is trademarked and it is mine. But we have a bunch of really cool gear on there that just plays around with our slogan of no bladder don't matter, because you can find a whole bunch of cool cancer t-shirts out there, but it's really hard to make bladder cancer cool. But people love my slogan. I love my slogan. Everyone keeps telling me to put it on a shirt, so we put it on a shirt. So that store's there. We add things in periodically as my graphic designer comes up with cool ideas. He sends me 1,000 things, and I'm like, dude, that's really cool, and what the heck are you thinking? he's having a little bit too much fun with all of it right now.
Well, that's a good thing compared to where the journey started.
Yeah, exactly. Me and I didn't even use Photoshop. I used Microsoft Publisher to build my stuff.
Oh Lord.
That's
a way to get in there.
I make it work. So yeah, we have merch. Anything with the cancer ribbon on it, proceeds from that go to BCAN, which is my charity of choice. So if it's just like fun merch, it is what it is. But if it has our ribbon on it, all the proceeds to that go to BCAN. And we will be having a really fun, we're still figuring out the mechanics of it because Corona threw everything in the air, but Bladder Cancer Awareness Month is coming up, and I've connected with some really cool people for some things, for some raffles and some drawings to raise money and raise awareness. There's a really great guy in my hometown who's actually going to wrap some cornhole boards with some logo on it, because that's just so fun and so different. But
and so Southern.
Yeah, of course. But the heck, it's fun. I mean, but we've also partnered with a couple different places for packages with an esthetician, get a facial, partnered with photographers for boudoir shoots. We've got a couple of things pulled together. We were going to do a big thing, but, Corona, we're gonna figure it out. But we're hoping that for Bladder Cancer Awareness Month that we can do something really fun to raise awareness, raise some money, and just have fun with it. So that's kind of where everything is right now. It's wild. I still feel, it's like you said, like, you're like, it's been almost a year. I'm like, it has, hasn't it?
And what a year it's been.
Oh my gosh. I
Well,
thought
thank you for
2019
being
was
here.
Pits.
You thought 2019 was Pits, and then
I thought it
2020
was the
said, hold
Pits,
my
and
beer.
2020 was like,
Hold my beer. Well, thank you so much for being here and doing this little interview with me. Is there any final thoughts or comments you would like to put out there?
If I've learned anything from this, and this doesn't have to do with anyone who has cancer, I think the world could benefit from people being a little more open and a little more real. I learned very quickly, my husband has experienced this too. As soon as we opened up and let people into our bubble, like as soon as he said, hey, my wife has cancer, or hey, I'm having a hard time, like admitting, like say you're really stressed out, you're having a hard time, just admitting, when that time your coworker says, hey, are you okay? Instead of just like saying I'm fine, I'm having a rough time right now. I mean, you don't have to tell some of your life story, but I think if we could all be a little bit more open, we could connect better. Because as soon as I let people into this world that I'm in, like I said, my husband experienced it. As soon as he told a coworker, I have cancer, my wife has cancer, his coworkers were then reaching out to him like, oh my gosh, this is going on in my life. Like he has grown closer with his network of people professionally and personally. And the same thing with me. As soon as I opened up and started talking about this, I feel like I got closer with people. I mean, I got you across the entire country, and I feel like we talk more now than we did when you lived down the road from me. I think the whole world could benefit from just being just a little bit more open and a little bit more honest, and a little bit more raw with people. And like I said, you don't have to get gritty and in the details and crazy with it, but I think in America especially, we're so ingrained with, I'm fine, everything's okay, everything's great, put a smile on. That's not real life. And I think we could break down a lot of walls and just be better people if we would just live a little more authentically. And if I could, out of everything I've been through, if that's like the weirdest thing I've come to realize, it's just, live an authentic life, and I promise everything will be okay.
Well, thank you for being real and authentic and sharing your story with us. Thanks, dear. Bye.
So what you think? That's everything for Brittney's story from No Bladder Don't Matter. Now that we're done listening to Brittney's story, I want to go over a few takeaways that I have for you from this. This is professionally unprofessional. The whole point of this is to learn different life experiences from other people and how they impact them so that we can take away little bits to influence our own life. With Brittney, we learned that sometimes life is shitty. Shit happens, and you have to do what you can to continue to push through about it. You have to know what you want to do. For Brittney, it was the fact that she wasn't ready to die. She wasn't ready to just give in and be like, no, this is the end. And she created something really cool out of that. And that is a really awesome lesson to take away and understand that you yourself can remove the shit that you deal with, the terrible things, and decide to become a better person because of them. Now, are we saying that what happened to Brittney is normal? Are we saying that what she went through is okay? No, it sucks. Cancer is never okay. But what comes out of that is the fact that Brittney looked cancer in the face and said, I have to live with this for the rest of my life, but it doesn't define me. And she really amplifies that and lives that mentality on No Bladder Don't Matter. If you have not gone to check out her stuff yet, do it. It's really, really cool. She's very open and honest about everything, and she kind of gives this normal face to cancer and to what she's going through. And I know that that can be hard to process and hard to deal with, but you also want to understand that, like, it's scary because it can be dangerous and can take away all these different things from you. But are you going to let that control you and define everything that you do for the rest of your life? Or are you going to continue to live to the best of your ability with what situation you're dealing with? And that's what Brittney did. She made something that is so terrifying that people don't want to talk about and don't want to think about it. And she made it like, hey, this happens to people and you can still have a good life out of it. You can still live to the best of your ability. Here's how I'm doing it. And I think that speaks volumes. That's a really cool mentality, especially when you're in a situation like that. When you are going through something so dark, you feel like it's the end of the world for you. It's a really nice moment to have someone who's been through that be like, hey, you're gonna be okay, here's how. And it just gives you that moment to pull yourself out of this dark hole that you're in, and that's something to really respect, and I really love that Brittney did that. Also, she's just fun about it. She's, 29 now. She's my age. She's 29, and she's just kind of like, you know what, it happened, let's go, let's keep going, and she's taking it day by day and making the best of her life, and I applaud her for that, and I really stand by the No Bladder Don't Matter brand. So just do it because it's freaking cool. There's a difference between having a situation fall upon you and being like, this controls me now, and having a situation fall upon you and be like, you're my bitch. And that's what Brittney did. She made cancer her bitch, and I'm super proud of her. Thank you so much to Brittney Telecamp for being here, for sharing your No Bladder Don't Matter story with us, and sharing everything that you have with the world. You're so open, honest, and raw, and I'm proud to call you my friend. Thank you for being our first guest on Professionally Unprofessional. If you have not already checked out Brittney's things from No Bladder Don't Matter, her Instagram, her Facebook, they are all linked in the description below. Please go show her some love, even if it's just to like some of her pictures. She has a really cool story, and it's really awesome how she can help other people through the situation that she's gone through. So thank you again for being here, Brittney. We really appreciate you being here. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified, all of those things. Come back every Friday, I post a new video. Come back every Wednesday to our podcast to hear a new thing. Don't forget that we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/redheadrunaway, or in the description below, where you can get behind the scenes footage, ask specific questions, recommend people that you want to see interviewed on the channel, and be a part of everything that happens at Redhead Runaway. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Okay, bye! Because it's not a recording if I don't burp. If you missed our first episode, we talked about Brittney's finding out. Brittney's finding out. English is great. Fuck knows this is wrong. I'm saying everything incorrectly. Alright, let's do this again.